The youths in the audience, this is a chance for you to, to grab, to create some noise, make some change in the community. Aura is doing a wonderful job using food as a way to inform people and, debunk these stereotypes, right, that we generally have. So that is like an angle quite rare. We don't quite see that a lot. So I guess the generation of innovators, this is the time to look at that. And I want to get into more specific with you, Aunger. I've always thought that, we are in this country together. We share, the same public facilities and infrastructure, yet we also, like my acting CEO used to say, like we live in silos even within the Malaysian community themselves. So in this, we have this rare opportunity to hear from you. Can you like share what are some like instances of backlash or challenges that you received, particularly, as a someone who's been here for a while? You've been a student, you're currently working, you're an everyday Malaysian just like everyone. So any experience in mind that really like that's stuck with you, that that kind of hurts you, and just the people in your community as well?
Thank you. Because there's a lot of experience. I've been here 17 years. So like, of course I have like different phases in my life where I was a little girl, my challenges were different. And then I was a teenager. I have my teenage angst era with like the whole world. And, and then now I'm like, I'm working now. I'm a young professional. So like it's a different sort of like challenge, but I would touch on like the three main themes of like the struggles as a refugee that I have faced. And these are like persistent throughout all of my phases of life, I would say. So the first one that I would like to say is that alienation. So this has like, I faced this as a girl, coming from Myanmar, not speaking the language, and, don't know English, don't know Malay, so, going to school, that sort of like, although I went to an NGO school, but still, being in the society still, that's like your neighbors with your neighbors. When you go to like public spaces, then, they're like, oh, Myanmar, Burmese, they don't want to talk to you. Even as a kid, they don't want to play with you. That sort of experiences. So I've always also felt alienation. And then again, in the middle phase where you in school or attending university, and you start to really see like, hey, there's a whole wider society out there that, that's when I start to closely kind of mingled around with like the Malaysian youth or like the Malaysian society. I'm like, oh, there's like all of, because I grew up in this NGO bubble where it's like the same, I see sort of like same people, same community, refugees and sort of things. So I have not like interacted so much with the locals, and then seeing like in the university, like same age as me, like some of them driving, or like, that was a bit of a, oh, okay, like a hit in the thing. Like, oh, okay, that's when you start to really realize that, oh, me, I'm this, that's when you see that the whole thing. And it can be a bit like, me against them or us against them kind of situation. And that's something that you have faced. And even now, and, this is a new challenge where you're entering the workforce and not being accepted because of your status. And how do you even grow your network? Like, you need to expand, growth, develop in this extremely competitive I was one of the few lucky ones who had the opportunity to complete my tertiary education. But after that, entering the workforce was a whole new stress for me. Like, I don't know how I'm going to compete with all these other fresh grads who are Malaysian, local, and also equally as talented. And it was that's the different phases of alienation I have felt. And the second one would be also quite similar, but it's a bit more like similar but different. It's a sense of belonging, because I left Myanmar when I was like 8 years old. So coming to Malaysia at such a young age, you're sort of like in this, like, you know, in I think around my teenage years where I start to like really realize you had the feeling of like, do I belong here? Or like, am I Burmese? Or what's my identity? Just battling with like, you know, culturally, I'm more like, you know, in tune with the Malaysian culture. You know, I understand the Malaysian lingo. I'm sometimes late, you know, sometimes. So culturally, I identify more as a Malaysian, but actually it's a bit, I don't know, like living in a society that's been excluding you and you just feel like you don't belong. So that's a bit like the struggle of like at the back of my head, you know, it's always this thing that you go through as yeah. And the other thing is uncertainty. This one, I would say it's the most biggest thing that I have felt is just it's very hard to live, like just continue living in general if you don't know what's your future going to be. I know all of us are uncertain. We don't know what our future is going to be like, but being as a refugee and really not even knowing where will I retire or what will I do, or I mean, yeah, we all don't know, yes, but at the end of the day, like, you know, you're Malaysian, you know this and you have this and this sort of, and it's just not for me. It's also for like, you know, the worry of my parents or like my family and, you know, how will they, my parents are like 50 something now, and, you know, they're at the phase where they are kind of like old and sick, you know, they need proper health care, and not having access to that is a big, you know, it's a whole new challenge for us, you know, going through the hospital. And, you know, although there's, of course, you know, 50% of it, but a lot of the things that people don't know is that 50% that refugees get is the foreigner rate. So, you know, it's not of a Malaysian rate that you're getting 50%. It's of if a surgery costs 1,000, for a Malaysian, probably it costs a lot less. But as a foreigner rate, 1,000, and then, you know, as a refugee, you pay half of that, still is a very, very, like a huge amount. And that's an example, of course. But it's just, yeah, those are some of the things. So it's alienation, sense of belonging, and just uncertainty as a main thing.